Roger Cobb has come here alone. But no one is ever alone in the house.
Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast That Wouldn't Die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
Hello, people.
This week, we'll be discussing the 1985 horror comedy classic House, starring William Catt and George Wendt and Richard Mall.
Billy Cat to his friends.
It's basically like your Thursday night lineup on NBC is essentially the stars of this show. Strange.
That sounds about right. Sounds about right.
Sweet Jesus. What are you up to, Aaron? What's the latest?
I had a beer after work, and then I came home and had Lucky Charms for dinner. How about that?
I do like the Lucky Charms. Now, my question to you is,
yes,
if it was Lucky Charms without the marshmallows, is it even worth eating?
No. And
No.
it's not Lucky Charms, because everything costs 10 times more than it should. And I don't know if you noticed this, but I turned the volume down on my microphone. So I am, in fact, not eating $7 Lucky Charms, but am, in fact, eating $3 marshmallow dinosaurs with
Is that what
almond milk.
they call it? So it's not
was
some other racial group?
Smart and Final bullshit Cheerios with desiccated marshmallows.
Interesting. My daughter...
That was too long to fit on the box.
That is indeed. My daughter figured out that you can go online and just order a bag of the marshmallows for Lucky Charms.
Did you know there is Lucky Charms hot cereal, which actually tastes like garbage because I accidentally ordered that instead of actual
like oatmeal? Or what are you talking about?
Yeah,
Cream of wheat?
a little shitty pack of oatmeal with a little shitty pack of desiccated marshmallows.
Could
except
you please
mine.
silence your phone? God damn it.
But that is your cousin texting me. But mine had a hole poked in it. So instead, it was strangely gummy marshmallows. So how about that?
Sounds
It was not
delicious.
Not magically delicious.
Each week on the podcast That Wouldn't Die, we discuss guilty pleasures and forgotten classics of the past with a comedic twist. Aaron, why don't you give us your 30-second synopsis of House?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
The creatively named House, I might add.
A little known fact, it all takes place in a house. Dude schleps over to his dead auntie's house to write his NAMM book. It's possessed. And Richard Mulligan does not kill him.
Richard Mulligan is not in this movie, first of all. This is an empty nest.
So I'm correct. Richard Mulligan did not kill him.
Richard Mulligan.
I can't remember the dude. The second bailiff from Night Court. Yes. After like the first one died or walked off. Anyway. It's some NAMM revenge thing, but don't you worry, the greatest American hero puts the hammer down and all is right with the world. But I guess his Tia is still dead ski. Everybody else came back to life or from the Twilight Zone.
Good Lord. Now, Aaron, this was actually your selection. What in God's name possessed you to choose this one?
It was a listener, somebody from my work, Terry Tripp, Blue Duck Animation on TikTok, IG, and YouTube, I guess, if you want to check him out. He put it out there. In fact, we were at a staff meeting today. He's like, Aaron, are you going to do House? I said, yes. He's like, that movie scared the shit out of me when I was 6 years old. I'm like, that'd be about the right age for this.
Yeah. That adds up.
He's like, the purple monster. I was like, purple monster? It took me like 40 minutes. Then I started thinking, is he thinking I'm doing Monster House or something? And then I remembered Billy Cat's like porn star, ex-wife, whatever. She just plays.
She's a soap actress.
Anyway.
The monster's wearing a purple dress.
I never put that together. I thought she was possessed. And then he killed her with a shotgun, but it wasn't her. Spoiler alert.
There's a lot of this going on. We're going to talk about this.
Had
you ever seen this before?
Never.
Had you ever heard of this before?
I think I've seen the poster with the severed finger that looked much scarier than the actual severed hand.
I remember the commercials for this movie, and it looked like a straight up comedy, if I remember this correctly, because it has Norm from Cheers, for goodness sake.
I think they were trying to make it wacky. It can't. Right. They could not have tried to make this straight. I mean, there's no way.
Well, I had seen it multiple times in the 80s. I believe
multiple times.
Why? I think this was, again, my standard answer. I think this was like, sleepover night with buddies. We're like, hit the warehouse, the 99-cent video, and then rented this. It could have been on HBO or something. That's possible.
No. My question is not why did you watch it. My question is why did you watch it multiple times? I believe is what you said.
11-year-old self, much like 6-year-old buddy, not the most discerning of palates at that time, to say the least. No, but I think that there's truth in the fact that at that age, it seemed quite frightening. It seemed quite... I remember the crazy gremlins, goblins, whatever the hell those things are. They look like Sour Patch Kids. Not Sour Patch Kids. Garbage Pail Kids is what they look like.
Garbage Pail, yeah.
Dragging the little son up the chimney for God knows what reason.
I believe they're billed as critters.
Coincidence? I would say not. And I remember there were those critters to 11-year-old me seemed a little unsettling. So I think at the time it seemed kind of frightening.
You were afraid they were going to break into mom and dad's house and come drag you up the chimney.
Absolutely. Watching it now as a 47-year-old man, it is a mess. This movie is it makes it's a combination of things kind of swirled together in no discernible order.
They needed to get rid of the whole Vietnam storyline to begin with. That was just ridiculous.
Let's just jump right in because I got a lot to say. Start with you, Aaron. What are your highlights?
It starts like a porn. Whenever I see the first scene is a pizza delivery man or the grocery delivery man, I assume people are going to be having sex right away.
Okay, first of all, it is a boy on a Schwinn delivering groceries.
Isn't that how Debbie Does Dallas starts?
No comment.
And then we need to discuss Billy Katz's Deep V cardigan.
Oh, that is a deep V. It was practically to his navel.
It's not a Daniel Tosh deep V. This thing is, I've never seen it. Like, a woman could not wear that. There'd be too much.
Absolutely. And not a cardigan. It was one of those 80s ridiculous sweaters.
Pullover, yeah. It's ridiculous. Oh, my God.
I've undershirt.
Never seen such a thing.
No undershirt, and his chest is as hairless as a baby's bottom.
It was like a seal wearing
it always goes back to a seal. Very upsetting. I don't like that.
Seal. And can we talk about Billy Katz's hair? Because I don't know what color his hair is. Because in Carrie, he had the straight up blonde white man afro. It was big curls. Half this movie, he's a ginger. Every interior shot, he has dark brown hair. I don't know what's happening.
I don't think it was dark brown hair. Maybe strawberry blonde or something. It wasn't like
he was strawberry blonde until he went inside, and then it was like, remember that there was that dude on American, the dude on American Idol who was a ginger. They told me he needed to dye it to darken it up.
Oh,
Troy, what was it? Akins or something?
Clay Akins.
I'm sure your wife loved him.
Very talented.
Yeah, remember they made him dye his hair. So it looks like halfway through the filming, Billy Katz decided he needed to darken it up. But first of all, where did the ginger even come from? Because now it looks like he's an all-over ginger. But correct me if I'm wrong. blonde fro in Carrie. Wasn't he a blonde in Greatest American Hero?
Absolutely. So that's the central character. The actor who plays the main character of this movie is Billy Cat from Greatest American Hero. I mean, not an A-lister.
Look what's happened to me.
Sing it.
I can't believe it myself. Suddenly I'm up on top of the world. It could have been somebody else. Believe it or not, I'm walking on air. Our father's favorite show, and they used to play that. It was like back when theme songs used to be on the radio.
There was an episode of Seinfeld, if you remember, where George changes
Believe it or not, George isn't at home. Please leave a message at the beep.
Where could I be?
Believe it or not, George's not home.
It was hilarious.
That was so beautiful.
Oh, sweet Jesus. Okay, so
and then Billy Cat decided to do this.
Well, I think he was like he was fielding offers at this stage. At this point, I think Greatest American Hero had been canceled for three years, so we just try to put food on the table. It's possible.
Too bad.
Very sad.
People love that show.
It was a good show. So he's a novelist, and I love. There's a scene where he's like signing books. He's a horror novelist,
right? And he's like a Patterson or something. People are like, "Yeah."
Well, he's more of a Koontz, Dinar Koontz, or one of those dudes.
All right.
And all of his weird, freaky fans are coming to the book signing, going, "What are you going to do next?" And of course, he throws the turn in the punch bowl and be like, "Well, I'm going to do a little nonfiction about my experiences in Vietnam," and people are just "What the?"
This could have been a Stephen King. I'm going to be writing my Richard Bachman series. People are like, record scratch. What?
It was basically Otis Day and the Nights in Animal House, where it's like they walk in. Yeah, people are not thrilled with this.
It's like when I went to see Asia in the 2000s, and they said, "We're going to play our new album."
No, Asia. It was the heat of the moment.
Yeah, that was the encore. Those sons of bitches.
Those bastards. Throughout this movie, he's sitting in front of his screen from his Apple IIe, where all he has is like the title of it's like One Man Story. One Man Story is the title of the book. Which is not a very descriptive title, much like House, frankly, in that One Man Story. And then the subtitle is like, my experiences in Vietnam or something along those lines. And this was a thing in the 80s where it was like half the movies you watched, it was either a Vietnam movie or it was like people after Vietnam dealing with like Lethal Weapon with Mel Gibson. Half the movie was like about their experiences in Vietnam.
Apparently it was very powerful.
Very powerful, so to say.
But leave it out of my horror. Because what story was he going to write? Because of the scenes they did show us, his flashback in Vietnam was the most boring experience of Vietnam that I've ever seen or heard of in my life.
Well, and we don't know if this is important or not. These little.
Why do they keep showing it if it's not important?
Right. Well, there's no connective tissue because we had to go back. So his.
Well, first of all, is Vietnam the tropical plant part of your nursery? Because that's what it looked like.
That's exactly.
It was clearly filmed somewhere in Los Angeles, and they literally just brought a bunch of potted plants and placed them around, and then someone would come by and spritz them so they'd pretend it was humid.
That's correct. They basically went to, what is it, the Armstrong...
It was filmed entirely at the Armstrong Nursery.
That's all it was. That's all you need. So his aunt has this beautiful mansion, and she hangs herself. No preamble, dead meat. That's what the poor delivery boy discovers. So later it's revealed that...
when you get Uber Eats and you don't answer the door, the dude just lets himself in. And if he can't find you, he just starts going through every room in the house.
Yes.
Hello, are you in there? He went up the stairs and either knew where her bedroom is, hence the porn, or he has searched every bedroom and closet until he reached hers.
Well, we have to talk about that. People just letting themselves into the house. The neighbor, George Wendt, Norm from Cheers, there's a scene where he just appears like in the bedroom with a platter of food saying, hey, who wants a midnight snack? Are you let yourself in at midnight into your new neighbor's house?
With beers and food. So, he's been in that bedroom before, just like the delivery boy. Or what? He's just exploring the entire house. He's a lonely man. But yeah, you get shot, man.
Absolutely.
You get shot. You can't just wander around at midnight. Hey, what's up, bro?
At midnight, who wants a midnight snack? Are you freaking kidding me? We're supposed to be, oh yeah, of course, that's standard.
And you can't even say, well, it was the 70s, it was a different time. Because it was the 80s.
The 80s are just like today, is what we're trying to say.
People, even in the 80s, you can't do that. You just can't show up in old granny's bedroom at midnight.
So here's my question.
Maybe he's Richard Ramirez. Is he, in fact, the Night Stalker?
It could be.
That's how
it starts.
It's amazing how he managed to elude the police for so long.
You never see them in the same room together. That's for sure.
True.
No, so this, ostensibly we're supposed to think this is your standard haunted house kind of movie, right?
Right.
But you don't see like ghosts, really, other than in the tool shed, like, the axe and the scythe. I mean, who has a scythe?
All right. Truth be told,
please.
When I was in college, when I was living with my boyfriend, he had one of those fucking Grim Reaper ones. It weighed like 50 pounds with a full body stick.
Why?
2 of them in the garage.
Wait, okay, so he's a serial killer, correct?
Well, R.I.P. Maybe that's what happened. I'm not really sure how he died, but who's to say?
You're right.
I'm going to say that's probably it.
It was not a scythe. It was a sickle is what it was. Right. There is a difference.
Maybe he was half a communist. He didn't have the hammer, but he had the sickle.
Who's to say?
Who's to say?
Those things kind of are floating around and chasing him at one point. And
and then he locked them in the garage, and they managed to unlock the door, unlock the front door, and hover their way upstairs.
Chase them down. They do not have hands, so I don't know how they open the door.
Maybe they're ghosts. They're the ghost of a sickle from days gone by.
That's correct. So he locks them in a room, and then they're just floating by the door
waiting.
For days, for weeks.
Just with their arms crossed, waiting.
Waiting, very patient. Other than the floating farm implements, you don't see ghosts. You just see weird, like, freaks.
What about the thing from The Thing that managed to scurry its way down from the Arctic down to Monrovia and live in a closet?
Right. Well, there's that other thing. So at midnight, in the grandma's or the aunt's closet, if you open it, the closet door at midnight, there is some weird, freaky creature that crawls out with long claws and like reaches and all this stuff.
I argue it was better than The Thing. No, it was The Thing.
Shut up. Okay.
But a better looking monster because there was no melted crayon.
That was nothing but melted crayon. Take a second look. Take a second look.
I put a whole box in the microwave.
That's what it looks like. Now, later, what we were talking about earlier is that he thinks his estranged wife, his son disappeared in the pool one day. And off screen, his wife left him, I guess, famous soap opera star, bails on him. And there was a scene where he's watching her soap opera. I have to talk about this very briefly.
She thinks he's a nut. She thinks she's a nut. But they also give you this red herring where a car is speeding off. How come we didn't investigate that?
That's another question.
If I jump in the pool and my kid's not actually there, but I did see a car speeding off for no apparent reason, why aren't we investigating that shit?
Well, so the car is speeding off, but then he turns around and the kid's swimming in the pool or drowning in the pool. And he jumps in to rescue his son, but then the son's gone.
Right. So I think a normal person would think, okay, well, my brain's up. It must be the car they just took off.
I see.
How you guys, when the kid get sucked down the drain?
Maybe like that episode of Twilight Zone.
Or like the M. Night Shyamalan thing about the mermaid that lives at the bottom of the swimming pool.
Oh, Jesus. What was that? The Way to Water? What was it called?
No,
it wasn't called
not
that.
The Way to Water. I can't remember what it's called, but I love it. Don't you say?
Water. That's what it
No,
was.
not The Shape. This is about a fucking mermaid. It's M. Night Shyamalan.
What was it called?
What the fuck was it called? And I was just talking about it.
Sentence.
Shut your mouth. Thank you, Father Kevin. I'm going to look it up.
Okay.
Siri. Hey, Siri. What is the M. Night Shyamalan movie about the mermaid?
No answer.
Lady in the Water.
Lady in the Water with Bryce Dallas Howard and Paul Giamatti.
Paul Giamatti. All the people who live in the apartments. I love that movie. Don't you say a bad word.
I have never seen it. I had long since given up on Shyamalan at that point.
You need to see that one.
Let me go back. So his estranged wife is a soap opera star, and William Katt tortures himself by watching like the nighttime, like it's Dynasty or something. And the dialogue that is in the one scene we see is the guy she's talking to turns to her and says, like, you knew I was a male prostitute my entire life. And later, then he's like,
that's good soap opera talk.
That's good stuff. And then it cuts back later and she's like, I'll smell anything I want. I don't know what the context of this conversation is. It can't be good. That's what I'll say. It can't be good.
All right. So well, then this makes sense because I was going through the credits and I see a dude who looks so familiar in the credits who was on all the soap operas. So and I went through the whole movie looking for him. He must be in all those soap opera scenes.
Right.
Because he was in Days of Our Lives, Young and the Restless. So he must have been in those scenes. He was like the patch dude.
Scorpio?
Not Scorpio. He had nothing to do with weather machines either.
Oh, very upsetting.
I can't remember, but yeah, I was like, what? I don't remember him in this. So he must have been in the soap opera scenes.
It's got to be something. So anyway, later in the movie, he thinks his ex-wife has like come to the door wearing her fancy purple sequined outfit, and he turns around and now she's a hideous freak who's chasing her.
Yeah, George called her. Right?
Right, but I don't think that was his wife at all. I just think it was the house messing with him.
No, in the end, we realize it's the house messing with him. But at the time, he blasts a hole in her. She turns and he picks her up and stuffs her in the Harry Potter closet.
Well, because the cops are coming.
Basically, well, maybe you need to go to jail. You just shot your wife. How are you going to explain that?
Right. So he shoots the hideous freak, and then he turns around, and then it's his wife again. He's like, oh, damn. And then he hears the sirens from the police cars, because believe it or not, even in Monrovia, you can't just start blasting with your double-barreled shotgun. So he stuffs her corpse.
I bet in Monrovia you can. You can probably still get away with it.
he shoves her corpse into a little hidey hole closet, something.
It was the Harry Potter closet.
And like Jeffrey Dahmer is just cool, calm. He thinks he just murdered his ex-wife, who he's desperate to get back together with. He hasn't turned himself in.
He's getting later on, like 5 minutes later, he's trying to get down with that Swedish chick.
Oh, we got to talk about that as well.
I mean, it makes no sense. We're just going to count this as Nam Trauma.
Something. Okay, so let's talk about
the
hot. He comes out one day while he's trying to bury the corpse of the hideous freak that he thought was his wife, and there's the hot Swedish woman in his pool. She's like, "Oh, your aunt used to let me swim here all the time, so I thought I'd just come by. My aunt is dead. Okay, you're not allowed to just let yourself in with George Wendt at all the hours.
I bet she knows right where that bedroom is too.
Here it
That ant was
comes.
swinging. That ant was swinging.
Well, she was swinging at the beginning of the movie from a rope.
Oh!
Boom, there you go.
Ouch! Ouch!
So he's down with the Swedish chick who shows up at his doorstep because she throws some comment like, "Oh, I can tell when a man, needs to work, but I can also tell when a man needs to play, if you know what I mean." So when she shows up later at his house, he's like, "Let's do this." And she's like, "Actually, I thought you'd like to play with my son. I need a babysitter. Deuces."
Yeah, I don't care if you molest them. That's all good and whatever. I'll be back after I'm getting my bone daddy on with a real man.
Clearly. So
especially after the first time he meets her, the child runs off and he's like locked him in the bathroom. Hi, hello. Or he's trying to pull the zombie.
You stay
hand
right
off
there, lady. I'm gonna go off
and lock
for some private time.
I'm a strange man who's acting strange, and now you've just given me the gift of a child to molest, and now I'm going to lock myself into the downstairs bathroom where you don't know what I'm doing. I'm not going to open the door.
The child comes out crying.
The child also comes out in Bad Touch Mommy. And this is the best scene in the whole movie, is he actually has to bite the severed hand to get it to release the small child.
That's correct. So the hand of the hideous freak that he mercilessly buried in the backyard, chopped it into little pieces, no problem, buried it all over the backyard. Again, there are neighbors. Here. In fact, he just kicked the Swedish one out of his pool 5 minutes ago. No problem.
And the beauty is, when he's burying, he has the head in one bag and then everything else in a giant lawn and leaf bag. Yet we then see 900 little tiny holes. So is he just sitting out there like when Dad had to kill the guinea pig? Was just taking
Wait a minute.
out?
I don't remember when Dad had to kill the guinea pig. I don't remember that little episode in our family history.
I think it was Mama Marshmallow. The dogs got Mama Marshmallow, and she was like paralyzed, and Dad had to do the mercy thing. I think Dad had to take the day off of work after that.
Okay, I have to. The whole paralysis thing just triggered a memory. You know that song by Kenny Rogers, "Ruby, Don't Take Your Love to Town"?
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you've never heard this song, it is a damn classic. Just read the lyrics. If you want to laugh, just read the lyrics, because there's
the worst.
Also about Nam. It wasn't me who started that all crazy Asian war, basically. And he's come back from theoretically, has come back from Vietnam, and his legs, and I quote, bent and paralyzed.
Well, apparently that's not the only thing bent and paralyzed, because Ruby throws a blanket on him and hits the Uber and is running around town.
The song is "Ruby, Don't Take Your Love to Town." I am bedridden and paralyzed, and I've heard that door slam 100 times before.
She got the itch.
Ruby is going into town on a nightly basis and shacking up with who? God knows who. Basically, scattering, flashing it to the four seasons. Who knows what's going on with Ruby?
Well, and on the plus side, she's coming home, I guess.
She is coming home. And he says, "It won't be long, I've heard them say, until I'm not around." So I'm on my way out. And you just can't keep it together until I'm dead. And at one point, he literally just says, "If I could move, I'd get a gun and put her in the ground. Ruby, don't take your love to town." So it's a love song, is what we're trying to say.
Then if I were Ruby, he's not getting any more chicken pot pie.
His legs are bent and paralyzed, and who knows what else is bent and paralyzed, frankly.
I'm guessing that whatever crazy hillbilly town this is, you get someone to bring you a gun if you really need to kill your only caregiver.
But he can't move. That's what I'm saying.
It didn't say his arms were chopped off. It just says he can't run to the Walmart.
He says, "If I could move, I'd get a gun and put her in the ground."
No, we talking about a boxing Helena situation? He's a quadriplegic. He's Christopher Reeves saying, "God damn it, I would blow your head off if I could."
Look, I have not seen the medical report, so it's hard to say the full extent of his injuries. But he ain't doing so well, and Ruby's taking her love to town. It's very
so this
sad.
is what you got to trick Ruby. Like, Ruby, now next time you go to the Walmart, we're gonna need some kitty litter. I want a box of saltines. I need some chaw. I need a 12-gauge shotgun. I need a 12-gauge shotgun.
Yep.
Some Vicks Vapor Rub. Some ammunition.
This is a long shopping list, by the way.
Because you gotta like slip it in there, and then some bologna and some of that good Wonder Bread.
Some of that good Wonder Bread.
Maybe she just doesn't know. Maybe she won't notice that there's a shotgun on the list.
And by the way, okay, so then there's the other song, the innocuously named "Coward of the County," where the middle of the story, the coward, the titular coward, his girlfriend is gang raped by the Gatlin boys mid song.
The Gatlin brothers. The Gatlin brothers.
And when this song was big, there was a country group called the Gatlin Brothers. Coincidence? Who's to say?
Coincidence. It really brings a whole different light.
Absolutely. Kenny, what are you saying?
What are you saying? I'm trying to... Are you telling tales?
Telling tales about those Gatlin brothers. Very upsetting. We've totally gone off on a...
I gotta Google the Gatlin brothers now.
Do not Google the Gatlin and Google Gatlin brothers gang rape and see what comes up. I mean, maybe the case, the files were sealed.
Bros,
who's to say?
Gang rape. Let's see what that gets me. Coward of the County.
There you go. It's a true story. I think if you check those damn Gatlin boys, it's a good song. Anyway. Where were we?
Poor Becky. Her name was Becky.
Yeah. And Tommy's love was Becky. Okay, anyway.
Here's a Google. Why did Kenny Rogers use the Gatlin brothers?
What does it say?
Oh! They had a falling out.
I bet they did.
The songwriter to use that name. It didn't go over well with Gatlin at all. After it came out, we started getting accused of being rapists. I think they could have shown a little good taste and used somebody else's name as the quote. The more you know, the more you know.
Hey, you know what I have to say? I kind of understand where they're coming from. I like Kenny as much as the next person, but I mean, good Lord. Those Oak Ridge boys. I mean, he could have... the band Alabama.
Those goddamn Osmonds.
That's right.
Exactly. Those damn Osmond brothers.
That's right. Very upsetting. Very upsetting.
Love it. The more you know, the more you know.
See, people are learning things on this podcast. That's what I'm saying. Good grief.
I have a funky thing. We were talking about the creature of the closet, and I did a quick Google because I was like, when did Poltergeist come out? Poltergeist came out years earlier, and they lifted almost all the terror in this book or in this movie from Poltergeist.
Like,
Creature in the Closet.
Doesn't look anything like it, though.
No. But that the closet leads to a different dimension.
Okay.
That you tie a rope around yourself to go into the dimension to free the kid. I mean, come on, people.
So, okay. Again, there's the weird witch woman that his wife turns into. There's the crazy thing creature in the closet that comes out.
Yeah, the witch woman looks like something from Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Absolutely does. No
Everything else looks like something out of an Evil Dead series.
Oh, no question. What's interesting is the witch woman is dispatched because she's chasing William Katt down the hall. William Katt goes, oh, damn. There's in the den, I left all of those farm implements floating around. All I have to do is time this right. They will come out and, dismember the witch woman, even though theoretically they're on the same side, right? It's this friendly fire. I mean, it makes no sense.
And as we find out, all controlled by the same person.
Well, that's my question to you, because it seems like this house was jacked up for a while. Later, it's revealed that his buddy in Vietnam that he didn't kill before the Viet Cong kidnapped him is now haunting the house. Why is he haunting his aunt's house?
Yes, why isn't it? Because the internet's not good in hell or whatever. Why wouldn't you just go straight to Billy Cat's house and just F with him there?
Absolutely.
Why do you go through all the trouble of killing the aunt and assuming that then Billy Cat would just show up there?
Right. I mean, literally, the beginning of the movie, Billy Cat's talking to a realtor. The realtor's, oh, we'll sell this place. He's like, maybe I'll just stay here instead. What if Billy Cat said, you know what, sell this place? I can use the cash.
Don't gizza.
I'm going back to my apartment.
They stole his kid like a year later, and then what? They're like, well, I guess our kid's gone.
I guess our kid's gone.
How was that helping dead Vietnam dude?
Right. It makes none of this makes any sense. So the dead Vietnam, you think that the dead Vietnam guy was controlling all the other weird freaks that would pop up. The Garbage Pail Kids, the Wicked Witch, the thing. I mean, that would seem to make sense, except it doesn't make any sense.
They kidnapped it because then they would portal from this time to Vietnam, and they stole the kid out of the swimming pool.
Yes.
But they time traveled him and put him into a bamboo cage for a year in Vietnam world.
In Vietnam, why do you keep pronouncing it like that? In Vietnam world. That's the proper pronunciation.
I have no idea, but with his buddy just shooting machine guns over the head of the child.
That's correct. That's great. None of it makes any sense because literally, I guess I kidnap I could just murder you then, but instead I'm going to kidnap your child for a year, and in this alternate dimension. Again, there aren't any really ghosts in this movie. They're just weird freaks that seem to pop out of nowhere.
There's monsters.
Just weird monsters. None of
There's a zombie ghost and monsters.
Right. There's a winged skeleton thing that flies around when he climbs in. Okay.
All right.
The people who haven't seen this movie are like, are you guys high? This sounds like a fever dream. And the answer is yes and yes.
Yes and yes. And you didn't mention the giant, of course, swordfish that came to life and was flopping like that Mr. Bass thing that would sing a song.
That's correct.
That was pure Evil Dead. There's
a lot of that in this movie. Oh, God help me. So the dead aunt was like an artist. So she had pictures on the wall that kind of reveal things, right? Like there's one painting on the wall where it's like she's standing in front of her closet door with lights beaming out of the closet door. And that kind of gives him the signal of, hey, if I happen to open the closet door at midnight, then this will be then I will see the freak in the closet. Later in the movie, he's like, oh, here's another reveal where it's like the little boy, my son, who's obviously my son, is behind, like in the mirror of my medicine cabinet, which was kind of an effective idea. I kind of dug that moment.
Right.
When he smashes that glass in the medicine cabinet and it's like opens up to a big blackness. And of course there's tentacles and claws and stuff reaching out and grabbing at him.
The arm from the creature of the Black Lagoon and the tail from Alien somehow, and then we never saw the rest of this so-called monster.
Right.
The thing with that arm and that tail then doesn't exist.
That's correct. And that's the thing. William Katt never seems that scared of anything that's happening. Never seems that worried. Like if I was in this situation, I mean, I hope my kids aren't listening. It would be like, I guess that's the end of my children. I'm not climbing into that that abyss.
It's another dimension of time and space. You have to be forgiven for that.
I forgive myself.
There you go.
That's
you will
all
carry
it
no
is.
guilt on that.
No question.
He like throws a rope down there because we all just have giant rope.
Yep.
And he's just sliding himself down there, lets the monster just take the gun away.
Yes.
Because you're just a shotgun, that's all you need when demons from hell come at you.
That's it.
Well, they basically just snatch it from you.
Snatch it from him.
Shoot you down. The end.
Well, and
the demons were effective, though. I did enjoy these demons. I love any of this shitty stop motion animation. Love it.
Oh God, it was some Ray Harryhausen shit.
Yeah.
So, but he's climbing out into space because basically he's like belaying like he's, you know, a mountain climber or something through the opening of the medicine cabinet. But on the other side, it's just blackness, right?
Right.
Like he's floating in space. So he's slinking down this rope. Of course, he's attacked by the flying demon thing, breaks the rope, and then he just falls into some water down at the bottom. And then, like 5 feet away, the water starts bubbling like there's a creature. I would have been terrified. I would have been flipping out, swimming away as fast as I can.
Of course.
He does not. He goes, ooh,
he dives
shall I
into
investigate?
it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Worked out fine for him, I guess, but not my move. That's what I'll say.
That's all that good nom training.
It's that nom training.
You know what? You know who he needed? He needed, what's his name, who ran for president with Sarah Palin?
John McCain?
John McCain. This would have been the best buddy movie of all time if it was Billy Cat and John McCain discussing their Vietnam flashbacks and traveling through the multiverse to save children.
Interesting theory.
I just feel that John McCain would have done a better job.
You may be right. Okay, so a couple things. Are we supposed to, when he's meeting George Wendt, the neighbor, who goes on this long monologue about like, hey, I'm glad we got a new neighbor here because the old woman who used to live here, horrible hag, she was
crazy
Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
She was, and he was like, actually, that was my aunt. Oh, but a heart of gold. Heart of gold.
Lovely lady.
Lovely lady. Are we supposed to think that he is annoying and like somebody that we're supposed to like not like? I'm trying to think because it seems like even though he does bust into his house at midnight with midnight snacks, that he kind of is reacting in a normal fashion, right? He's the one who calls the cops when he hears the gunshot. He's the one who calls the ex-wife because he thinks Billy Cat's gone crazy. His reactions seem normal to me.
Well, his behavior is not normal, but his reaction to Billy Cat is normal because, you know, like many people, he doesn't have the ability to judge his own behavior, but he's like, I'm not crazy, but you're crazy. So I'm calling the police on you.
Well, because Billy Cat is wearing his full nom regalia basically for half the movie for no reason.
He's doing stupid shit like running around doing somersaults on the stairs. The whole sequence when he has 900 cameras lined up in front of the door was so stupid. And then all of a sudden he just starts clicking them at the floor. I'm like, okay, well, there's another picture of the dirt. And how are these cameras going to take these pictures of themselves?
Right, you'd have to go around and actually hit the buttons.
Yeah.
Get it to take a picture.
And there's like 20 point-and-shoot cameras that required you to push a button. None of them were linked together. What was the plan?
Makes no sense. I laughed about that scene because you're right. He's like, I guess, rehearsing for midnight to roll around.
Click, click, click.
Click, click, click. And then running through the house, doing barrel rolls and somersaults, runs out of the house, slides across his knees onto the, the walkway. And there's George Wendt on the inside of his fence.
In his yard. Again.
In his yard, walking his dog. Basically, here's my dog. I'm going to drop a big old deuce right on your lawn. Hope that's cool. Because we're friends,
every time we meet George Wendt, he seems to just be a little bit closer to the house, a little bit more on the property, more on the property.
Yep.
You wake up and he's in bed with you. Ah!
What else you got? Any other interesting tidbits?
There's a cop. When the cops do come,
yes,
it's Alan Autry, who I used to have a huge crush on.
From In the Heat of the Night.
From In the Heat of the Night series.
Yeah,
but he was also on Grace Under Fire with Brett Butler. I used to love that sitcom. He was the love interest, but then she fell off the wagon hard and he said, screw this.
Left the show?
left the show. The kid star mother pulled him from the show because of her behavior after she fell off the wagon.
The kid, yes.
I think Alan Autry did the same. And then Alan Autry, I think, was a big friend of our friend Chuck Norris. He went on to be the mayor of Fresno for several years.
That is true. So it's interesting. So the two cops that come to the door, you have Alan Autry from In the Heat of the Night. The other cop...
Bubba.
Bubba, that's right. The other cop was Steve Williams from 21 Jump Street. So they both go on to play cops and other things.
Yeah, he looked kind of familiar. Alan Autry used to play professional football.
Well, he was also, Steve Williams was also Mr. X on The X-Files. And this would mean nothing to you, but may mean something to some other people. He was Creighton Duke in Jason Goes to Hell: The Final Friday. So there you go.
I don't think I saw that one.
He played a bounty hunter. So there you go.
Good stuff.
He usually has a mustache. But not in House, sadly.
The interesting thing about this movie, it's literally even the background people are someone famous.
Yes. There's a lot of people that you recognize from things.
Right. Not people pulling down Academy Awards, but people that were on a bunch of shit.
Right. So the grand reveal, like we said, it was his buddy and Nam who's come back to get him. So at the end of the movie, he's being chased through the house by the skeletal buddy, essentially.
It looks like one of those like bad Zombie Island zombies.
No question. Now, spontaneously at the end, William Katt goes, "I'm not afraid of you anymore. You can't hurt me anymore." And now, Richard Mall is trying to like get him with the knife, but now the knife doesn't affect him anymore.
Which was the loseriest thing I've ever seen in my life.
No preamble.
Ridiculous.
No arc. It was just suddenly he's like, "Oh, by the way, now you can't hurt me anymore." The end.
So I could snatch your kid and take him to a parallel universe and put him in a cage. But now I can't do that anymore just because you said I ain't afraid.
Well, and he was kicking his ass for like the last 30 minutes. And now it's like, no, I've now decided I'm no longer afraid.
I don't believe in you.
I don't believe it. So I thought that they should have ended it with him like finishing his book. But the book is just thrown out the window. He doesn't need to write it anymore because
it was also stupid. Yeah. So I was tortured by the Viet Cong because you wouldn't murder. I would have died for you. Well, now you will. But in the show when they were carrying him off, he didn't do anything to try him. Billy Katt's character in Vietnam was just a screw off. So what was this great book he was writing?
It's all very ridiculous. Again, his buddy in Nam was a loose cannon and was doing stupid stuff. So he gets shot down by the Viet Cong. Billy Katt goes up to him and he's like, "Come on, I'll get you out of here." He's like, "No, I'm too injured. You got to kill me. Kill me."
Yeah, cut my throat. Yeah, that's what's going to happen is someone's going to walk up as I'm cutting your throat. And now I'm getting court-martialed.
That's exactly right. So Billy Katt's like, "No can do. I'll go get help." He's 5 feet away. The Viet Cong picks him up. And again, he was
just gone. The end.
It does nothing. It's a very sad situation.
The whole Vietnam thing was ridiculous.
It was so ridiculous.
It made no sense.
Sweet Jesus. Any last thoughts before we go behind the scenes?
I think the best part of the movie is when he bites the monster's hand to get it off the baby's neck.
Yep.
And the crazy artwork. And this is what's so ridiculous. Oh, she's an artist. There's literally no art supplies anywhere. There's just one crazy picture.
Well, it was her masterpiece.
Her masterpiece, which was clearly painted this year. Because it shows the kid in the mirror. It wasn't like Nana. Nana had a whole room with 1,000 pictures. There wasn't just one crazy ominous picture of the tool shed.
That's in the tool shed / art gallery.
And her dead husband was the great fisherman. Besides the swordfish, there were no fishing shit anywhere in the whole house. It made no sense.
After he caught the one, there was no point in continuing.
After she did the one painting, there was no need to continue. After he caught the one fish, that was it.
That's all you need.
Walk out on a high, another Costanza. Thank you. And then you walk away on a high note.
That's 100% correct. Let's go behind the scenes, shall we?
Please.
It's difficult to discern, but the monster in the closet is designed to look like the napalmed bodies from Vietnam with bullets for fingers. Did you get any of that?
Not at all.
Not even a little
all
bit.
I kept thinking was, it looks like The Thing.
Very upsetting.
Or it looks like a bunch of twigs in a spider web.
That's correct. The original screenplay by Fred Decker was a traditional horror film with no humor at all.
Good. That would have been better.
It was rewritten by Ethan Wiley, who added all the quote-unquote comedy.
So he's to blame. Did he also add all the Vietnam? The Vietnam comedy.
They
the
tied it all together. They tied it all the vomity. The nomedy. Whatever. One of the things. The vomity. This movie has a lot of connections to Friday the 13th. Okay. It was produced.
It has a lot of connection to Poltergeist because it's like a big fucking ripoff.
The producer, Sean S. Cunningham, was the producer and basically the driving force behind the original Friday the 13th movie. The director, Steve Miner, directed Friday the 13th Part 2 and Part 3. And the soundtrack was by Harry Manfredini, who did the iconic soundtrack to Friday the 13th. So it's basically the same. It's all the same stuff.
They should have gone out, thank you, after the Friday the 13th. Leave on the high note, friend.
Well, and I just literally today, I was on the internet, and I discovered that Sean S. Cunningham is in the process of rebooting Friday the 13th and House. So get ready.
And what was the whole thing with the fake Linda Ronstadt? You're no good. You're no good. I'm like,
they thought that was funny.
Who's the one that's no good? And then they changed the words of the song. Billy Cat's no good.
No,
who's
the witchy one, the demon woman that he chopped up. Yes.
Why did they use witchy woman? That might have been more interesting.
Maybe that was more expensive. Who's to say?
I thought it was, and they didn't play it just once. They use it again at the end. I'm like, well, we already recorded it. Let's use it. Manfredini can't keep writing gems.
You're telling me. Basically, it was like these were meant to be kind of comedic stingers. You've just been attacked by a witch woman who's just been dismembered by these floating farm implements. I'm going to keep saying farm implements. And now let's throw some Ronstadt in there. Some stone ponies, perhaps. In Hong Kong, this movie was not called House because House is obviously a lousy title. It's called Don't Go Into the Haunted House After Midnight is what it's called.
So why? How about just don't go into the haunted house?
Don't go into the haunted house. Absolutely.
Okay, is that your Manfredini version of a soundtrack?
That doesn't mean anything to you. When I would go to SeaWorld with my kids, you could go to all the theme parks around Halloween time, and they would kind of add like a little Halloween kind of aspect to it where you can go around and, they'd give you candy at different stations or whatever. At SeaWorld, they kept playing this bizarro music where it was some, again, not using any of the traditional Halloween, songs, Monster Mash or Time Warp or whatever. Instead, they came up with Don't Go Into the Haunted House over and over again. So
just that sentence over and over.
That's all you need. It's all you need.
Oh, I'm sure they were shoving some subliminal messages in there. You need an $8 lemonade. Go get a $7 pickle.
A $7 pickle. Sounds like a euphemism. Originally, they were inspired by Twilight Zone, the movie, that they wanted to create their own anthology. So these buddies, Fred Dekker, Ethan Wiley, Steve Miner, and Shane Black, were going to create this anthology. The anthology never came to be, but this segment was going to be one of the stories. They decided to flesh it out and turn it into a full movie.
So they decided their theme should be after another horrible flop.
Was Frozone a flop? I don't remember.
Yes, that dude got killed, and so did all the kids. It was
I knew
scandal.
about that. I knew it was a scandal, but I thought the movie still did well. But maybe I'm mistaken.
Nah, it was kind of stinky.
I watched a thing on that where it was like literally the helicopter. It was John Landis was directing that segment,
right?
Which ironically took place in Vietnam.
Once again, Vic
Morrow, and 2 underage Vietnamese American actors who weren't supposed to be there. Like this was late at night, and they were working under the table, right? And there was it was an unsafe stunt to begin with, and a gust of wind at the wrong time, too close to the canyon wall. The helicopter came in, crashed, but not before decapitating Vic Morrow and the 2 children. Killed them all. Boom.
Horrible.
Awful. So, very sad.
John Landis managed to bounce back and continue to work.
Which is crazy to me.
Which is crazy because he's the one cutting the corners. The axe falls on him.
He got sued. I
bet he did. Just like Alex Giddings. I'm surprised he wasn't prosecuted because it didn't happen in the United States, right?
No, it did.
Oh, it did? Yeah. I can't believe that it wasn't charged.
Well, I don't think they could claim, I'm trying to remember what it was, but it was something along the lines of, it's a tragedy, but doesn't seem to be like, well, we can obviously say this is what caused it. Your culpability is clear. You know what I mean? So, who's to say? So, director Steve Miner wanted to do this movie as kind of a transitional movie because he wanted to get away from doing horror movies. He thought because this is kind of funny, theoretically, quote unquote, that would kind of lead to kind of, non-horror roles. So there you go.
Maybe if it was good.
Maybe if it was good.
His buddies would be so boring at a party if this is their version of comedy. It'd be like, oh, I'm going to go move into the kitchen if you don't mind. Our conversation here has ended.
His next movie after directing House was a film called Soul Man with C. Thomas Howell, Ray Don Chong, James Earl Jones. Are you familiar with Soul Man?
I am familiar that it exists. I don't believe I saw it.
I'm going to say something controversial. I think Soul Man is freaking hilarious. The premise of Soul Man.
Whatever happened to Ray Don Chong?
She's still kicking around.
She was a thing for a minute.
The premise of Soul Man is that C. Thomas Howell was accepted into Harvard, but cannot afford to go there because his rich parents won't pay for it, essentially. So to pay for it, he goes for a scholarship that's only offered to African Americans. So he uses the experimental tanning solution to basically turn into an African American with skin, and he wears a crazy wig, and hijinks ensue.
Oh God!
Yes, not appropriate to say the least. Anywho, didn't work well for Steve Miner. He also directed the pilot episode of The Wonder Years after Soul Man. So good times.
Okay, well, he's on a path.
He's on a path.
Is that where the path ended?
That's it.
Okay.
There were 3 sequels to House. 3 sequels, and they're generally unrelated. Like, here's another crazy haunted house, essentially.
It's not the same house?
No, different house. House 2, the second story.
Which is a funny name.
Stars Ari Gross, famously from Soul Man. And there are interesting things. But what's interesting about House 2, the second story, is it has, I wouldn't call it a cameo because he wasn't famous enough at the time, but Bill Maher's in it. Bill Maher's in it as kind of a slimy record producer type. Playing himself. So good times.
All right.
Good grief. Who knows what's going on in the world? Let me see if there's any other thoughts and feelings. Here we go. Glenn Close and Sigourney Weaver were considered for the female lead role.
I hate this considered. I am considering Laurence Olivier for this role. But Laurence Olivier wasn't considering it.
It was a one-way consideration.
Exactly.
This is an interesting fact here. In the Vietnam War flashbacks, you can clearly hear the sound of a kookaburra bird, which is not native to Vietnam. They're found only in Australia. Why is there a kookaburra? Who knows?
Because it makes a crazy sound.
Because it makes a crazy sound.
Ray Don Chong was married to C. Thomas Howell.
Yeah, for years and years, if I remember. I think that's about it. Shall we talk about the cast and crew?
Please, let's do it.
Steve Miner, the director. We talked about him ever so briefly. He directed House. He directed Warlock with Julian Sands. Did we ever find
Julian Sands? Julian Sands, come to me. Do you hear my voice? As of our recording, he's lost in the wilderness. It's not looking good. We'll have to do Boxing Helena in his honor.
No, we will not have to do Boxing Helena in his honor. He also directed Halloween H2O, and like I said, he directed some episodes of The Wonder Years. Fred Decker, who wrote the original screenplay. You know him because he wrote and directed The Monster Squad. Wrote and directed Night of the Creeps. Boom, shakalaka.
Boom, boom.
RoboCop 3, which is not the good RoboCop, and The Predator, directed by Shane Black.
Is that about what's his name from?
It's about Michael Jackson. Yeah,
it's about Michael Jackson.
Sweet Lord. Okay, let's talk about the cast, shall we? William Catt played Roger Cobb, the author. He was in
Greatest
The
American
Man
Hero
from Earth in 2007. He was in Carrie. He was in House. And from 1981 to 1986, my bad, it was still on the air, evidently. The Greatest American Hero.
I hope he saved well.
George Wendt played Harold Gordon, the nosy neighbor. You know him from Cheers. He was in Fletch. He was in Forever Young with Mel Gibson.
Forever Young. Oh, he's in Spice World.
He was. Richard Mole played Big Ben, the dude, his buddy from Vietnam who he left alive, I guess. You know him from House. He was in Scary Movie 2. He was in But I'm a Cheerleader. He was in Jingle All the Way. We're not even mentioning he was Bull, the incredibly huge bailiff on Night Court, which was
that's
an
the only
underrated
place
show.
I remember him.
Absolutely.
He was not the better. He replaced the other dude.
No.
Other way?
This is the way it worked. When the show first started, there was 2 bailiffs. There was Bull, tall dude. Then there was a little old lady, whose name
I remember the African American dude.
African American dude was the court clerk, but not the original court clerk.
Oh,
there you go. Now, when the old woman died, then Marsha Warfield joined the cast as a African American female bailiff. So there you go.
All right.
Harry Anderson. Yeah, John Larroquette, Marky Post. It's an all-star cast.
I used to love John Larroquette.
Kay Lenz played Sandy Sinclair, the estranged soap opera actress.
Most famous for being married to David Cassidy.
She was married to David Cassidy for 6 years in the late 70s, early 80s.
She used to get death threats from his fans, wanting her to die.
Oh, that's upsetting.
Yes, he was very popular at a time.
She was in a ton of stuff. I mean, she was basically like on every TV show of the 80s, of the 70s. She was in House. She was in Breezy in 1973, directed by Clint Eastwood. She was in The Midnight Caller from 1988 to 1991. She was on Reasonable Doubt with Mark Harmon and Marlee Matlin. She was on that show from 91 to 93.
If it was on TV in the 80s, Kay Lenz was there.
Absolutely. Then there was the sassy Swedish neighbor. Mary Staven played Tanya.
She's so
you know her from A View to a Kill. She was a Bond girl not once but twice, playing two totally different roles, but never the main Bond girl, just the hot chick in the background.
So in other words, just a girl in a Bond movie.
That is correct. She was in House. She was in Octopussy, and her role was called Octopussy Girl. So she was just one of the chicks in the background, evidently.
Oh my God, I never got over that name. It was such a problematic name.
It's very difficult to understand why there would have been called a movie called Octopussy. But there was. And I love it. If you haven't seen Octopussy lately, check it out. It is Roger Moore.
I'm not sure I ever saw it. Well, first of all, it's Roger Moore.
Roger Moore, if you see View to a Kill or Octopussy, he is like 56 years old, shacking up with girls who are literally old enough to be his granddaughters. Literally, that's how the age we're talking about here. And that's why he finally quit. He felt bad. He felt it was uncomfortable being in these situations where people would be like, oh, my grandmother loved you on The Saint or whatever, The Prisoner, whatever the hell show he was on.
He was on The Saint, not The Prisoner. That was McGowan.
Yep. She was also in Barking Mad in 2021, so more recently.
What was the Sean Connery movie with, God, he was like 106, but he had a good wig, but his co-star was, what's her name? The one who her husband, Douglas, claims got mouth cancer for going down on her.
Yes, you're talking about Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Entrapment.
And I'm like, they're going to get together. He's like 70 years old.
He is 70.
She was young.
She was early.
He was 70, and they were like creep crawling around each other. I'm like, is this happening?
Yes, absolutely. Entrapment is what the cops do.
Oh
well, I mean, look.
All you had to do was pop a new little wig on Sean Connery, and he carried that through.
Here's the thing. Sean Connery wore a wig literally the entire time he was James Bond. The very first in 1962 in Dr. No, wearing a wig.
Yeah.
He always wore a wig because he didn't have much hair.
He had to have a wig warehouse. The way women may have purses and shoes, he had a wig warehouse. And it looked good. It always looked good.
Well, and the other thing about it, since we're talking about this, Sean Connery in the 70s, the last time he played James Bond, was literally younger than me now, but looked 65 years old. Skin like fine Corinthian leather. I don't know what it was. Hard living. Hard living.
It's the whiskey and schmokies and slapping around the ladies. Keeps you strong. Age you early, but then you just freeze at 47 and then you never get any older.
Right.
But you remain virile.
You look 45 when you're 30. And by the time you're 45, you look 60, and then you just kind of stay there for a few years.
Just kind of coast that 60 slide.
Pretty much. Let's talk about the ratings, shall we?
Shall we?
House, currently 62% on the tomato meter. Do you know what the audience gave it?
47.
Oh, sweet you. 46.
Oh!
Boom, look at that.
Time for Vegas.
No question. Let's look at, there's one top critic who discussed this.
Is it a top critic who actually is a top critic, or a top critic because he's got a lot of TikTokers?
This is Janet Maslin of the New York Times, who we've heard of.
She real.
She says, scares are not its strong suit, but it has a trim, bright look and better performances than might be expected. So that's kind of a positive review.
This is what I goddamn hate.
Yep.
Just say the movie stinks. The movie stinks. It's irredeemable. I hate this, that all these reviewers we say, Oh, well, that wasn't their strong suit, but the furnishings are lovely and
So what
make
is
up
your
for.
what is your rating, damn it?
I am going to give it 1 out of 5 Ambiens because I want to be knocked out cold before I see this again. It's boring. It's boring.
I'm going to give it 2 out of 5 headless witch women rolling into a hole in the ground. Basically, is what I'm talking about.
Looking for the Ambien.
The movie it's kind of all over the place. It doesn't have like a real like through line. It's like they try to shoehorn the Vietnam story as a way of explaining the weirdness, but it doesn't really make any sense. None of it makes any sense.
We're gonna rip off Poltergeist, and Nam in movies. If you want to get the Academy's attention come award season, let's throw a little Coming Home into a horror film.
The Deer Hunter. Exactly.
A Sousant of Deer Hunter. Is Christopher Walken available?
I'm sure he is. Well, it's like you kind of said, where it's like there's Evil Dead aspects, there's Poltergeist aspects to it. It's a mess. It's a mess. I mean, it's trying to be funny.
Thanks, Terry.
You're to blame.
You're to blame, your 6-year-old fevered brain.
I mean, I'll tell you what. I watched the movie. I stayed awake during it for the most part. I don't hate it. I just find it kind of a shade below mediocre, is what I would say in terms
forgettable.
It's definitely forgettable.
I don't hate it, except that it's and what is it? Thankfully, most of these horror movies follow the 90-minute pattern. So, but that is 90 minutes that I will not be getting back. I could have written a poem, a sonnet, an opera, a haiku,
a limerick.
I could have shaved my legs. I could have just laid there and stared at the ceiling, but now I won't be able to do that.
Could have gone into a hysterical blindness fugue state, if you will. So
that would have been better.
Thank you very much. Go to our page on Twitter at TPodcastTWDie. Go to our page on Facebook at The Podcast That Wouldn't Die. Aaron, are we on Instagram or TikTok?
We're on the Instagram and we're on the Ticker Talker. We are The Podcast That Wouldn't Die. Please visit us. Now I've followed about 900 people on the Ticker Talker, and on a solid 30 are following us back.
Solid 30. A devoted
Most
30.
Most of them high schoolers, because my contact list got kind of confused when I was following people.
Oh, sweet Lord.
Goddamn invasion of these apps.
That's all you needed to say. Well, you can also email us at the podcast that wouldn't die at Gmail. We are on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify, anywhere the finer podcasts are available. So don't forget to like, share, rate, and review. Won't you?
Won't you please?
Aaron, are you on social media?
I have much media. I am on the Instagram. I am the Cult of Aaron. Join the cult. I am also Don't Feed the Pigeons. I guess I'm on the Twitsker, but Elon Musk is making me sour. I no longer desire a Tesla. I used to kind of find them interesting in space age, and now I have kind of a sour taste. I have artwork that's available on, what is it? First Dibs and Artsy, Aaron Doherty, Polaroid photography.
Beautiful.
Won't you help yourself? Send me
help yourself. Exactly. Do yourself a favor.
You can just PayPal me some money and I'll send you something. How about that?
There you go.
Let's start about $500. A grab bag.
A mystery box, if you will.
I since I've been doing the TikTok and try to share a picture of Kevin each time, I do now have quite a collection that I have to have a separate box because I have to have a different picture every time. So maybe you'd like to buy the mystery box of Kevin's pictures.
Yes, of just pictures of me. It's a gift that keeps on giving the whole year long, Clark.
Yeehaw!
Next week, I was going to say next year. Next week, we'll be discussing the American horror classic, The Ring, based upon the original Japanese classic, with Naomi Watts and that dude from Virgin River on Netflix. So you have that to look forward to.
Virgin River is such a piece of shit. I thought it was going to be about Humboldt, but Virgin River is for all the ladies out there who love the Hallmark.
Yes, it is. Becky loves it.
I'm sure our Aunt Vicky and all her
when calls the heart, exactly, no question.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
So you can watch it, like we'll be watching it on Amazon Prime. However, you will have to fork over $2.99. So you might want to go to your local library, swap meet.
Hoopla. Do you have
something.
Hoopla? What's the other
Canopy.
app at the libraries? Canopy. Why not? When I was poor back in the 90s, we would totally just go to the library to rent movies.
Why not?
You used to be able to check out CDs. I would check out CDs and then burn them at home.
That's against the rules, by the way. That's a federal crime.
Is that wrong? Is that like photocopying a book?
A little bit. So you can send us your favorite scenes, favorite quotes, comments, or questions, and we may talk about it on the show. So.
I'm looking forward to this because I haven't burned myself out on The Ring, but I remember the first time I saw it going, holy shit. So let's see if this stands out. I mean, everything about The Ring, from what I remember, it was just fire. It's just fire.
Well, you are Samira, if I remember correctly.
I was Samira for Halloween. I
just in life,
an entire day with just a black wig on backwards.
There's a scene.
I had better kids then because I also had a kid who was dressed as the Pope that day. So we have pictures of him trying to exorcise me.
Lord knows you need it. There's a scene from, I think it's Scary Movie 3. When George Carlin, they're talking about how he had to put Samira in the well or whatever. It's like, I thought a timeout would have been more appropriate, but anyway, hilarious. So check that out. Let us know what you think, and maybe we'll talk about it on the show. So thank you very much, and be well.
Be well, children.